Tibet is a land like no other, a place where breathtaking landscapes meet the boundless depths of spirituality. Towering mountains kiss the sky, rolling plateaus stretch endlessly, and prayer flags flutter in the wind, carrying the hopes and aspirations of a deeply spiritual people. For centuries, Tibet has been a source of fascination and inspiration, a sanctuary for explorers, scholars, and seekers on a quest for meaning and connection. But what is it that makes Tibet so unique? How did a society of fierce, independent nomads transform into a beacon of profound spiritual wisdom and peace? The story of Tibetan history is one of resilience and transformation, shaped by the unyielding power of faith. Long before the region became synonymous with Buddhism, the Tibetan plateau was home to a rugged, independent people who lived in harmony with nature, guided by their own spiritual practices. The early religion of Tibet, known as Bon, connected the people to the earth, the sky, and the unseen forces of the universe. It was a belief system rooted in shamanic rituals and reverence for the natural world. But in the 7th century, a profound change began to take shape. Under the reign of King Songtsen Gampo, Tibet began to open its doors to the world, forging alliances and embracing new ideas. One of these ideas was Buddhism, introduced to Tibet from India and Nepal. At first, it was a foreign concept, but over time it merged with the native Bon traditions, creating a spiritual foundation unlike any other. This fusion would define Tibet's identity and give rise to a culture of unparalleled spiritual depth. The teachings of Buddhism transformed Tibet. Through the centuries, monasteries became the heart of Tibetan life, places of learning, meditation, and devotion. Great spiritual leaders like Guru Rinpoche, also known as Padmasambhava, brought esoteric practices and profound teachings that shaped Tibetan Buddhism into what it is today. The Tibetan people, once known for their fierce independence, embraced a path of compassion, mindfulness, and inner peace. It was not a passive transformation, but one born of great trials and perseverance. Despite countless challenges, foreign invasions, internal conflicts, and even the harshness of the Tibetan plateau itself, the spirit of Tibet endured. The Dalai Lamas emerged as both spiritual and temporal leaders, guiding their people through turbulent times. The Potala Palace in Lhasa became a symbol of this unique union of spirituality and governance, a towering testament to the resilience of Tibetan culture. Today, as we look back at Tibetan history, we find lessons that resonate deeply in our modern lives. In a world often marked by chaos and disconnection, the story of Tibet reminds us of the power of faith, the importance of preserving cultural heritage, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. Tibetan history is not just a tale of the past. It is a call to reflect on our own paths, to seek peace within ourselves, and to honor the timeless values of compassion and wisdom. This is the remarkable story of Tibet, a land of wonder and mystery, where history and spirituality converge to inspire us all. Long before the serene image of monasteries and the resonant chants of monks defined Tibetan culture, this land was a wild, untamed frontier ruled by the resilience of nomadic tribes. These tribes thrived in one of the most challenging environments on Earth, the vast Tibetan plateau. Here the air is thin, the winds are fierce, and the landscape is as unforgiving as it is breathtaking. Yet, these early Tibetans were masters of survival, forging a life of strength and determination in harmony with the natural world. The nomads roamed the plateau with their herds of yaks and sheep, animals that provided everything they needed to endure: food, clothing, and the means to build shelter. Their existence was intimately tied to the rhythms of nature. Each season dictated their movements as they followed the sparse pastures that could sustain their flocks. The harsh environment demanded not only physical endurance, but also an unyielding sense of unity and cooperation within their communities. Their beliefs, rooted in the ancient Bon religion, reflected their deep connection to the land. Bon was not just a set of rituals. It was a way of life that celebrated the spirits of the mountains, rivers, and skies. It was a faith that mirrored the raw, untamed spirit of the people themselves, a testament to their reverence for the forces that shaped their world. But even in this rugged life of survival, the seeds of transformation were beginning to take root. The 7th century brought a monumental shift as new ideas began to flow into Tibet. Under the leadership of visionary rulers like King Songtsen Gampo, the once isolated tribes of Tibet united into a formidable kingdom. Songtsen Gampo's marriage alliances with Nepal and China brought with them an exchange of culture, philosophy, and, most notably, Buddhism. At first, Buddhism was an outsider's faith, a set of teachings that seemed foreign to the rugged, practical life of the Tibetan people. But over time, these teachings began to resonate, weaving themselves into the fabric of Tibetan life. The early fusion of Buddhism and Bon laid the foundation for a spiritual revolution. What had once been a land defined by survival now began to emerge as a land defined by spiritual pursuit. This transformation wasn't instant or easy. It was a gradual evolution, shaped by the wisdom of great teachers and the determination of a people who sought meaning beyond the challenges of their physical existence. The Nomads, once focused solely on the necessities of life, began to embrace the teachings of compassion, mindfulness, and enlightenment. The rugged independence that had been their hallmark found a new expression in the profound spiritual depth that defines Tibet to this day. The story of these early tribes is not just the story of Tibet's past, it is the foundation of its identity. It is a story of resilience, of transformation, and of a journey from survival to spiritual awakening, a journey that continues to inspire the world. This is the legacy of Tibetan history, a testament to the power of faith and the enduring strength of the human spirit. The 7th century was a turning point in Tibetan history, a time when the winds of change carried with them a new spiritual philosophy that would transform the soul of a nation. It was during the reign of King Songtsen Gampo, a visionary leader who united the Tibetan tribes into a powerful kingdom, that Buddhism first took root in this rugged land. At first, it was a foreign concept, unfamiliar to a people whose lives had long been shaped by the primal forces of nature and the ancient Bon traditions. But within this meeting of worlds lay the seeds of something extraordinary. King Songtsen Gampo's strategic alliances through marriages with Nepal and China brought not only political strength, but also profound cultural and spiritual exchange. His 2 queens, Princess Brikuti of Nepal and Princess Wencheng of China, were devout Buddhists, and they brought sacred texts, statues, and teachings into the heart of Tibet. These early introductions planted the first seeds of Buddhism in a land still rooted in the shamanic rituals of Bon. Yet the journey of Buddhism in Tibet was far from straightforward. The teachings of the Buddha faced resistance as they sought to find a place in a society deeply connected to its own ancient traditions. For centuries, the 2 faiths coexisted in tension, but rather than clashing irreparably, they began to influence and transform one another. What emerged was a profound spiritual synthesis, a uniquely Tibetan form of Buddhism that honored the wisdom of both traditions. This transformation didn't happen overnight. It took the tireless efforts of scholars, translators, and spiritual leaders to bridge the gap between Indian Buddhism and the Tibetan way of life. Figures like Guru Rinpoche, also known as Padmasambhava, played a crucial role in this process. His arrival in the 8th century marked a significant moment, as he not only introduced tantric practices, but also helped overcome obstacles that threatened the spread of Buddhism. It is said that Guru Rinpoche tamed the land's spiritual forces, harmonizing them with the teachings of the Buddha. What Buddhism offered was revolutionary. In a land shaped by survival, where conflict and resilience were necessities of life, Buddhism introduced a path of inner peace, compassion, and mindfulness. It taught that true strength came not from conquering others, but from mastering oneself. These teachings resonated deeply with the Tibetan people, gradually weaving themselves into the fabric of daily life. Monasteries became centers of learning, meditation, and spiritual refuge, and the sound of prayer wheels and chanting began to echo across the mountains and valleys. This era marked the beginning of a cultural renaissance in Tibet. The profound wisdom of Buddhist philosophy inspired art, literature, and architecture, creating a legacy that would endure for centuries. The fusion of Bon and Buddhism not only shaped Tibet's spiritual identity, but also forged a culture of profound compassion and resilience. The story of Buddhism's arrival in Tibet is more than just a historical milestone. It is a testament to the transformative power of faith and the enduring strength of the human spirit. It is a reminder that even in the most challenging environments, seeds of peace and wisdom can take root and flourish. This is the story of Tibetan history, a journey of transformation that continues to inspire the world. Visionary leaders like King Songtsen Gampo forever changed the course of Tibetan history. In the 7th century, he rose to power not only as a unifier of scattered tribes, but as a leader with a vision that extended far beyond politics and conquest. Songtsen Gampo embraced Buddhism, not just as a personal faith, but as a cornerstone for building a stronger, unified Tibet. His reign marked the beginning of a spiritual and cultural transformation that would shape the very identity of the Tibetan people. At the heart of this transformation was a profound understanding of Buddhism's potential as a unifying force. Songtsen Gampo recognized that Tibet's tribes, often divided by geography and customs, could find common ground in the teachings of the Buddha. To cement Buddhism's role in Tibetan society, he embarked on a series of ambitious projects that would leave an indelible mark on history. One of his greatest achievements was the construction of the Jokang Temple in Lhasa, a sacred site that remains the spiritual heart of Tibetan Buddhism to this day. This temple, built with influences from Nepalese and Chinese architecture, symbolized the cultural fusion and spiritual awakening that defined Songtsen Gampo's reign. The Jokang became a place of pilgrimage, a beacon of faith that drew people from all corners of Tibet. It was more than just a building. It was a statement of unity, faith, and hope for a brighter future. Songtsen Gampo also prioritized the translation of Buddhist texts into the Tibetan language, a monumental task that laid the foundation for Tibetan Buddhism. By creating a written script for the Tibetan language and encouraging the study of Buddhist philosophy, he ensured that these teachings would be accessible to his people for generations to come. This effort transformed Tibet into a center of learning and spirituality, where scholars and practitioners alike could explore the profound wisdom of the Buddha's teachings. But Songtsen Gampo's vision went beyond temples and texts. He saw Buddhism as a guiding force for governance, a way to instill compassion, justice, and harmony in the administration of his kingdom. His leadership exemplified the integration of spirituality and statecraft, creating a model that would influence future rulers and define Tibet's unique identity. This period was a golden age for Tibetan culture, a time when spirituality and governance were not separate, but deeply intertwined. Art, architecture, and literature flourished, inspired by the teachings of Buddhism. The unity that Songtsen Gampo fostered through faith allowed Tibet to emerge as a powerful and cohesive kingdom, capable of influencing the cultural and spiritual landscape of Asia. The legacy of Songtsen Gampo is not just a chapter in Tibetan history, it is a testament to the transformative power of vision and faith. His efforts to weave Buddhism into the fabric of Tibetan society created a foundation that would endure for centuries, shaping a culture that continues to inspire the world with its compassion, wisdom, and resilience. This is the story of a leader who saw beyond the challenges of his time and built a legacy that resonates to this day, a legacy of unity, faith, and hope. By the 11th century, Tibetan monasteries had become the beating heart of society, shaping every facet of life on the vast plateau. These sacred institutions were far more than places of worship. They were hubs of education, centers of healing, and even pillars of diplomacy. In a land where the harsh environment demanded resilience, the monasteries stood as sanctuaries of wisdom, compassion, and service. Monks were not only spiritual guides, they were the intellectual backbone of Tibetan culture. Within the monastery walls, they preserved ancient texts that carried the profound teachings of Buddhism and the collective knowledge of the world. Their dedication to translation and scholarship ensured that wisdom from India, China, and beyond was carefully adapted and shared with Tibetan society. These texts became the foundation for sophisticated philosophical systems, exploring the nature of reality, the mind, and the path to enlightenment. But the contributions of monasteries extended far beyond spiritual teachings. They were the universities of their time, educating generations of monks and laypeople alike. Monks became teachers, doctors, and advisors, offering their knowledge to empower their communities. Their studies weren't limited to scripture. They delved into astronomy, medicine, and the arts, creating a holistic approach to learning that was ahead of its time. Monasteries also played a vital role in providing health care. Tibetan medicine, a unique tradition blending herbal remedies, spiritual practices, and keen observation of the human body, flourished within these institutions. Monks trained as healers treated ailments and offered care to those in need, embodying the Buddhist ideal of compassion in action. In a region where political boundaries often blurred, monasteries also became centers of diplomacy. Monks were trusted emissaries, mediating disputes and fostering dialogue between tribes and neighboring regions. Their spiritual authority and commitment to peace made them effective negotiators, ensuring stability in a land often shaped by conflict and uncertainty. Art and culture thrived within monastery walls as well. Monks painted intricate thangkas, crafted detailed mandalas, and created sacred music that echoed across the mountains. These artistic expressions were more than just beautiful. They were profound meditations on the teachings of Buddhism, offering a glimpse into the depth of Tibetan spirituality. The monasteries of Tibet were living examples of balance, the harmonious blending of faith and practical life. They showed that spirituality was not an escape from the world, but a way to engage with it more deeply, to serve and uplift others. This integration of the sacred and the everyday became a defining characteristic of Tibetan culture, a tradition that continues to inspire people across the globe. By the 11th century, monasteries were more than institutions. They were lifelines, sustaining the body, mind, and spirit of Tibetan society. Their legacy is a testament to the transformative power of faith when paired with wisdom and service. In the story of Tibetan history, they stand as symbols of resilience, compassion, and the enduring quest for enlightenment. A reminder that even in the most remote and challenging corners of the world, humanity can build something extraordinary. The 20th century was a time of immense change and profound challenges for Tibet. It was a period marked by political upheavals, external pressures, and sweeping social transformations that tested the resilience of one of the world's most unique cultures. Yet, despite these trials, the indomitable spirit of Tibet endured, rooted in its deep cultural heritage and unwavering spiritual foundation. As the century unfolded, Tibet found itself caught in the currents of a rapidly changing world. Political tensions escalated, and external forces threatened to dismantle centuries of traditions and practices. The Tibetan people faced displacement, the loss of autonomy, and the challenge of preserving their way of life in the face of profound adversity. For a land long associated with serenity and spiritual introspection, these were times of great turmoil. But Tibet's story during this time is not one of defeat. It is a story of resilience, adaptability, and hope. Even as thousands of Tibetans were forced into exile, their connection to their homeland and its spiritual teachings remained unbroken. The exiled Tibetan community, led by His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, began the monumental task of preserving their culture, language, and Buddhist traditions in lands far from their mountainous home. Tibetan monasteries, destroyed or endangered in their homeland, were rebuilt in exile, becoming centers of learning, meditation, and cultural preservation. In India, Nepal, and other parts of the world, these monasteries flourished, ensuring that the teachings of Tibetan Buddhism were not only maintained, but shared with a global audience. Tibetan monks and teachers became ambassadors of compassion and wisdom, introducing the profound philosophies of their tradition to people across the globe. Tibetan art, music, and literature also found new life in exile, carried forward by a determined people who refused to let their heritage fade. Traditional Thangka paintings, ceremonial music, and the stories of Tibet's rich history were passed down to new generations, bridging the gap between the past and the present. Tibetan children, many born far from their ancestral homeland, learned their language, history, and spiritual practices, ensuring that their roots remained strong. The resilience of the Tibetan people extends beyond cultural preservation. It is deeply intertwined with their spirituality. The teachings of Buddhism, which emphasize compassion, inner strength, and adaptability, have been a source of solace and guidance during this turbulent time. Tibetan Buddhism has not only survived, but thrived, becoming a source of inspiration for millions around the world. In the face of immense challenges, the Tibetan people have shown the world the power of cultural and spiritual roots. Their story is a testament to the strength of identity and the enduring power of faith. It is a reminder that even when faced with displacement and loss, a culture deeply connected to its spiritual foundation can persevere and inspire. The 20th century may have tested Tibet's resilience, but it also revealed its extraordinary capacity to adapt and endure. The spirit of Tibet continues to shine brightly, a beacon of hope, compassion, and unwavering faith in the face of adversity. This chapter of Tibetan history is not just a story of survival, it is a story of triumph, a powerful reminder that the essence of a culture, when nurtured with love and determination, can transcend even the greatest challenges. Tibet's journey through history is more than just a story of a distant land. It's a profound lesson for all of humanity. It's a tale of transformation, of evolving through challenges without losing the essence of identity. For centuries, Tibet has shown us the strength that comes from spirituality, unity, and a deep connection to cultural roots. Its resilience stands as a beacon of hope, a reminder that even in the face of immense challenges, individuals and societies can adapt and thrive while staying true to their core values. What strikes me most about Tibet is how its people have embraced transformation without letting go of their identity. This is not a small feat. Change, especially when it is forced upon us, often brings the risk of losing what makes us unique. But Tibet shows us another way. Whether through the integration of Buddhism into its ancient traditions, the perseverance of its culture in exile, or the global sharing of its spiritual teachings, Tibet has continually adapted while holding on to the essence of its soul. At the heart of Tibet's strength lies its spirituality. Tibetan Buddhism is more than a religion. It's a way of life, a philosophy that guides the mind, heart, and actions. It teaches compassion, resilience, and the power of inner peace. These principles have been the bedrock of Tibet's endurance through centuries of upheaval and transformation. The Dalai Lamas and countless other spiritual leaders have shared these teachings not just within Tibet, but with the world, offering wisdom that transcends borders and time. But Tibet's journey isn't just about spirituality. It's also a story of unity. Despite the challenges of displacement and political turmoil, Tibetan communities, whether within Tibet or scattered across the globe, have remained deeply connected. They've worked tirelessly to preserve their language, their traditions, and their way of life. This unity has not only ensured the survival of Tibetan culture, but has allowed it to flourish and inspire others, even in the most unlikely circumstances. For me, Tibet's story is a powerful source of inspiration. It reminds us that resilience is not just about survival, it's about evolving while staying grounded in what matters most. It's about facing the storms of life with unwavering faith and courage, about finding strength in who we are at our core. In a world that is changing faster than ever, where traditions and identities can feel under threat, Tibet's history feels more relevant than ever. It teaches us that we don't have to fear change. Instead, we can embrace it as an opportunity to grow, to adapt, and to share our unique gifts with the world. Tibet's journey shows that even in times of upheaval, we can find our way forward by holding on to the things that truly define us: our values, our connections, and our inner strength. This is what makes Tibet's history so timeless. It's a story of perseverance, of adapting to new realities while staying true to the essence of one's spirit. It's a reminder that no matter how great the challenge, cultures and individuals alike have the power to endure and inspire. For me, and for so many others, Tibet is not just a place. It's a living symbol of hope, resilience, and the beauty of staying true to oneself in an ever-changing world. As we reflect on the evolution of Tibetan society, we realize that Tibet is far more than a historical curiosity. It is a living, breathing legacy of resilience, spirituality, and cultural innovation, a testament to the enduring power of faith and identity. Its story is not just one of the past. It is a profound narrative that continues to resonate in the present, offering lessons for all of us in today's fast-changing world. Tibet's journey is a story of transformation, a remarkable evolution from a land of fierce, independent nomads to a beacon of spiritual wisdom that inspires millions around the globe. Its culture, rooted in the rugged beauty of the Himalayan plateau, has flourished despite immense challenges. Through centuries of trials, Tibetan society has shown us what it means to adapt without losing the essence of who you are. It's a story of finding strength in spirituality, of building unity through shared values, and of turning adversity into an opportunity for growth. Tibet's mystical landscapes, the towering peaks of the Himalayas, the vast plateaus, and the serene monasteries nestled in the mountains, are awe-inspiring. But beyond the physical beauty lies a spiritual depth that is equally captivating. Tibetan Buddhism, with its teachings of compassion, mindfulness, and the interconnectedness of all life, is a gift not just to Tibet but to the world. These teachings offer profound insights for modern life, reminding us of the importance of inner peace in a chaotic world. What truly sets Tibet apart is the way its people have carried their traditions forward, even in the face of profound challenges. Displacement, political upheaval, and cultural threats could have erased their identity, but instead, Tibetans have turned these struggles into a source of strength. In exile, Tibetan communities have rebuilt monasteries, preserved their language, and continued to share their teachings with the world. This resilience is a powerful example of how cultural roots can sustain us, even when everything else feels uncertain. Tibet also teaches us the value of balance. Its monasteries have been not just centers of worship, but hubs of education, art, and healthcare. The integration of faith and practical life is a hallmark of Tibetan culture, showing that spirituality is not separate from the world, but deeply intertwined with it. This balance is something we can all learn from, reminding us to seek harmony in our own lives, between progress and tradition, between the material and the spiritual. Whether you're drawn to Tibet for its breathtaking landscapes, its profound spiritual teachings, or its remarkable history, there is something here for everyone. Tibet's journey offers timeless lessons: the strength of resilience, the power of unity, and the importance of staying true to your essence. It challenges us to reflect on our own lives and the values we hold dear. How can we face challenges with the same courage? How can we adapt without losing what makes us unique? Tibet is more than a place. It's a source of inspiration, a reminder of the incredible strength of the human spirit. Its history, culture, and teachings are not just for scholars or seekers. They are for anyone looking to find meaning, connection, and hope. As we close this chapter on Tibetan history, the question remains, what lessons will you take from this incredible journey? How will Tibet's story inspire your own path forward?